The moving truck pulled away from the curb as the Taylor twins stood in front of their new home, cardboard boxes stacked around them on the freshly cut lawn. Andrew and Anthony, identical in almost every way from their short curly hair to their lean athletic builds, exchanged nervous glances as they took in the neighborhood. Neat houses with perfectly trimmed hedges lined both sides of the street, a stark contrast to the busy apartment complex they had called home for the last 16 years. "What do you think?" Andrew asked, his voice low as he picked up a box labeled "Beige Room Stuff." Anthony shrugged, reaching for his own box. "It's quiet. Too quiet." Their mom, Mrs. Taylor, walked up behind them, placing a gentle hand on each of their shoulders. "Give it time, boys. This is a fresh start for all of us." Her smile was tired but hopeful. Ever since their dad got the job offer at Cleveland Memorial Hospital, their lives had been turned upside down. The boys knew how hard their parents had worked for this opportunity. Their dad becoming one of the few black surgeons in the cardiology department was something to be proud of. That evening, as the family sat among unpacked boxes eating takeout pizza, their dad cleared his throat. "First day of school tomorrow. Nervous?" The twins looked at each other before answering. They'd always had this connection, like they could read each other's thoughts. "A little," Anthony admitted, wiping pizza grease from his fingers. "We'll be fine," Andrew added with more confidence than he felt. "We've started at new schools before." What Andrew didn't say was that their old neighborhood in Detroit had been different. There, they weren't the only black kids in class. Here, in this fancy suburb, they had yet to see another family that looked like theirs. Their mom must have sensed their worry. Remember what Master Chen always says about new challenges. The twins smiled at the mention of their taekwondo instructor. For the past 10 years, they had trained at Chen's martial arts academy, earning their black belts by the time they were 14. Last year, they had even started cross-training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Coach Rodriguez. Face them head-on with respect and awareness, the boys recited together, then burst out laughing at their sink. Later that night, the twins unpacked their matching trophy cases. Rows of medals and certificates from regional and state competitions filled the shelves. Anthony carefully arranged his recent trophy from the Midwest Junior Championship. "Do you think we'll find a good dojo here?" he asked, glancing at the calendar where their training sessions used to be marked. Andrew nodded, already scrolling through his phone. "Dad said there's a place about 15 minutes away. We could check it out this weekend." As they got ready for bed, Andrew noticed his brother staring out the window at their new street, eerily lit by streetlights. "What's up?" he asked. Anthony turned, his face half hidden in shadow. "Just thinking about tomorrow. New school, new people." He paused. "I don't want to be the odd ones out again." Andrew sat on his bed, understanding completely. "We've got each other's backs, like always. Besides," he added with a small smile, "nobody needs to know everything about us right away." It had always been their little secret in a way. Most people took one look at them and saw just two average teenage boys. Nobody ever guessed that they trained almost daily, that they could break boards with their hands or flip grown men over their shoulders. Their parents had always taught them that martial arts wasn't about showing off or fighting. It was about discipline, respect, and inner strength. "True," Anthony agreed, finally cracking a smile. "Let's just try to fit in first." As they turned out the lights, neither twin spoke their deeper worries. They'd faced racist comments before, but always with the safety net of friends who'd known them for years. Here, they were starting from scratch. "Night," Andrew mumbled into his pillow. "Night," Anthony replied, staring at the unfamiliar ceiling. The next morning, they stood at the bus stop in new clothes, backpacks slung over their shoulders. When the yellow school bus rounded the corner, the brothers took deep breaths in unison. "Here we go," Andrew whispered as the doors opened, revealing rows of unfamiliar faces turning to stare at them. Little did those students know that the new kids they were sizing up had spent more hours in disciplined training than most adults. The Taylor twins stepped onto the bus, their black belts and fighting skills left hidden at home, invisible armor for whatever lay ahead. The Taylor twins found their lockers side by side in the main hallway of Lakeside High. The school buzzed with morning energy as students slammed lockers and called out to friends. Andrew and Anthony stood out like sore thumbs, not just because they were new, but because they were two of the only black students in a sea of white faces. "Your schedule match mine?" Andrew asked, comparing their timetables. Anthony nodded. Math and English together. Everything else, we're split up. A group of senior boys walked past, their Letterman jackets displaying the school's eagle mascot. One boy, tall with broad shoulders and a buzz cut, slowed down as he passed. His eyes narrowed as he looked the twins up and down. "Hey, look what we got here," he said, loud enough for his friends to hear. "Fresh meat." His friends snickered as they continued down the hall. Andrew felt his shoulders tense but kept his face neutral. Years of training had taught him to control his reactions. "That's Tyler Green," a voice said beside them. A girl with glasses and braided hair leaned against the locker next to Anthony's. "Captain of the wrestling team and grader jerk. I'm Lily, by the way." The twins introduced themselves, grateful for the friendly face. Lily offered to show them to their first class, chatting about teachers and which cafeteria food to avoid. As they walked, Anthony noticed how other students stared, some curiously, others less friendly. By lunchtime, the twins had gotten through half their classes without major incident. They sat with Lily and her friends at a corner table in the cafeteria. "So, where'd you guys move from?" asked David, a skinny boy with a Star Wars t-shirt. "Detroit," Andrew answered, unwrapping his sandwich. "You guys play any sports?" asked another boy. Anthony shrugged. "Basketball, mostly. We were thinking of trying out here." A loud laugh from across the room caught their attention. Tyler and his friends were looking their way, making exaggerated basketball shooting motions. "Just ignore them," Loudy said, had a voice tight. "They're always like that." But ignoring became harder as the week progressed. In gym class, Tyler accidentally threw a dodgeball straight at Anthony's face. Anthony caught it easily, his reflexes kicking in without thought. The surprise on Tyler's face quickly turned to annoyance. During passing period, the twins often found themselves bumped into or shouldered aside. Once, Andrew opened his locker to find a note scribbled with "Go back where you came from." On Friday, Anthony was alone at his locker when Tyler and two friends surrounded him. "Hey, new kid. I heard you think you're trying out for basketball," Tyler said, leaning in close. "That's my territory." Anthony kept his breathing steady, just like in training. "Last I checked, anyone could try out." Tyler's friend Ryan laughed. "Listen to him. Thinks he belonged here." Anthony felt his hands curl into fists but kept them at his sides. He thought about all the times Master Chen had them hold difficult poses, teaching patience and control. "The strongest fighter is the one who knows when not to fight," he'd always said. Tyler stepped closer. "I'm just giving you friendly advice. You and your brother should know your place." The bell rang, saving Anthony from having to respond. Tyler knocked Anthony's books to the floor before walking away with his friends. When Andrew found his brother picking up scattered notebooks, Anthony told him what happened. "We should tell someone," Andrew suggested as they headed to class. Anthony shook his head. "And be what?" "The new kids who tattled their first week. We can handle this." That evening, they found a local dojo that offered both taekwondo and jiu-jitsu classes. The familiar smell of the training mats and the sound of students practicing forms instantly made them feel at home. "I needed this," Andrew said as they warmed up, stretching muscles tight from a week of tension. Anthony nodded, watching other students practice. "Me too." For 2 hours, they lost themselves in training, their bodies remembering the movements that had become second nature over a decade of practice. Here, in their dobok uniforms with their black belts tied securely around their waists, no one questioned whether they belonged. Neither brother mentioned the growing problem at school as they trained, but both knew it wouldn't simply go away. Tyler and his friends had marked them as targets, and Monday was coming fast. Basketball tryouts were posted on the bulletin board outside the gym. Andrew and Anthony stood among the crowd of boys jostling to add their names to the list. "You signing up?" Lily asked, appearing beside them with her lunch tray. Andrew nodded, scribbling his name. "Been playing since we were kids." "Tyler's not gonna like that," David whispered, glancing nervously across the cafeteria where Tyler and his friends sat. "He thinks he's the star player." Anthony shrugged, writing his name below his brother's. "Not our problem." But it became their problem quickly. That afternoon during classes, Anthony opened his notebook to find "Stay OFF our TM" written across his notes in black marker. Later, Andrew found his gym clothes stuffed in a toilet. At home that evening, their mom noticed something was off when the twins picked at their dinner. "Everything okay at school?" she asked, putting down her fork. The twins shared a look. They'd always told their parents everything, but this felt different. Their dad worked long hours at the hospital to establish himself. Their mom was stressed enough with the move and her new job search. "It's fine," Andrew lied, "just getting used to the new school." Anthony nodded in agreement. Under the table, he pulled out his phone and showed Andre's social media post. Someone had taken a photo of them in the hallway and added text that made their blood boil. "We should tell someone," Andrew whispered as they cleaned up after dinner. Anthony shook his head. "Remember what happened at summer camp when we were 12? The counselors made it worse." "This is different," Andrew argued, but he didn't push it. They'd handle it their way. The next day was tryouts. The twins changed in the locker room, ignoring the whispers and stares. Coach Wilson, a stern-faced man with a clipboard, blew his whistle as 20 boys lined up on the court. "Two teams, scrimmage," he shouted, dividing them quickly. "Green, you're team captain for blue. Chen, you're red." Tyler smirked as he picked his friends first. No surprise when the twins were last picked, both ending up on the red team. What did surprise everyone was what happened next. As soon as the ball was in play, years of discipline and training showed in their movements. The twins played with a natural flow, anticipating each other's moves. Andrew stole the ball from Ryan, then passed to Anthony, who sank a perfect three-pointer. Their teammates, initially hesitant, began passing to them more often. By the end of the scrimmage, Red Team had won by 15 points. The twins had scored most of those points, moving with a grace that came from years of martial arts training, the footwork, the balance, the focus. Coach Wilson's eyebrows raised higher with each play. Tyler's face grew redder. "Not bad," Coach said when they finished, making notes on his clipboard. "Results posted tomorrow." In the locker room, the tension was thick enough to cut. Tyler slammed his locker shut and got in Anthony's face. "You think you're hot stuff? This is my team. Been that way for 3 years." Anthony kept his eyes down, focusing on tying his shoes. Andrew stepped between them. "We're just playing basketball, man. That's all." Tyler shoved Andrew back. "Nobody asked you." The twins walked away, their training helping them keep their cool. But that afternoon, someone had created a fake social media account with their pictures, filled with racist comments supposedly from them. By morning, half the school had seen it. "This is too far," Lily said at lunch. "You need to report this." When they checked their phones later, the account had been taken down, but the damage was done. Students they'd never spoken to gave them dirty looks in the hallway. Someone had written slurs on their lockers. The only bright spot came when the basketball roster was posted. Both twins had made the team. So had Tyler, but he'd lost his captain spot to a senior named Kevin, who'd been impressed by the twins during tryouts. "Don't listen to those posts," Kevin told them during their first practice. "Anyone who's actually talked to you knows that wasn't real." For a moment, things seemed better. Then practice ended, and Tyler cornered them by the water fountain. "This isn't over," he hissed. "You made me look bad, and now you'll pay." That weekend, the twins threw themselves into training at their new dojo. Their new instructor, Master Wong, noticed their intensity. "You are fighting something inside," he commented as they practiced forms. "Remember, martial arts is not just about fighting others. It is about mastering yourself." On Sunday night, their dad caught them practicing takedown moves in the backyard. "Getting serious again, huh?" he asked, a curious look on his face. "Something going on I should know about." The twins exchanged glances. "Just staying sharp," Andrew said. Their dad wasn't fooled. "You know, when I started at the hospital, some doctors didn't think I belonged there either." He sat on the porch steps. "But I showed them through my work, not my fists." Anthony nodded slowly. "We know, Dad. We're handling it." "The right way," he pressed. "Yes," both twins answered together. But as they lay in bed that night, they wondered what the right way was when nothing seemed to stop Tyler and his friends. The situation was escalating, and sooner or later, something would have to give. 3 weeks passed, and the tension at Lakeside High grew thicker by the day. Basketball practice had become a battlefield. Coach Wilson didn't seem to notice or care when Tyler accidentally elbowed Anthony in the ribs or when Ryan tripped Andrew during drills. The twins kept their composure, but their patience was wearing thin. "I don't get it," Anthony said as they walked home one evening. "We haven't done anything to them." Andrew kicked a rock down the sidewalk. "We don't have to do anything. We exist. That's enough for guys like them." At home, their mom noticed Anthony wincing as he reached for the milk at dinner. "What happened to your side?" she asked, her eyes narrowing with concern. "Just a hard practice," he mumbled, avoiding her gaze. Their dad lowered his fork. "Boys, is there something going on that we should know about?" The twins shared a look across the table. That silent communication they'd had since they were little. "Some kids at school are just being jerks," Andrew finally admitted. "But we're handling it." "Handling it how?" their mom pressed. "We're not fighting," Anthony quickly added. "Promise, Master Wong always says." "That fighting is the last resort," their dad finished. "I know. But sometimes you need to tell someone in authority before things get worse." The twins nodded, but both knew they wouldn't. Telling would only make them bigger targets. The next day at school, Kevin caught up with them in the hallway before first period. "Hey, got a minute?" He looked nervous, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "Look, I heard Tyler and his guys talking in the locker room yesterday. They're planning something after practice tomorrow. Something about teaching you a lesson." "What kind of lesson?" Andrew asked, though he could guess. Kevin shrugged. "I don't know exactly, but it didn't sound good. Maybe you should skip practice and let them think we're scared." Anthony shook his head. "No way." "Thanks for the warning," Andrew told Kevin. "We'll be careful." Throughout the day, the twins noticed Tyler and his friends watching them, smirking and whispering. During lunch, Lily slid into the seat beside them. "People are saying there's going to be some kind of fight tomorrow," she whispered. "You guys should tell Principal Davis." "Tell him what?" Anthony asked. "That we heard a rumor. He won't do anything without proof." Andrew nodded in agreement. "We'll just stick together and be ready." That night at the dojo, the twins trained harder than usual. Master Wong noticed their intensity during sparring. "Your minds are elsewhere tonight," he observed as they bowed at the end of class. "Remember, a warrior's greatest weapon is not his fists, but his mind." Anthony nodded respectfully. "Yes, Master Wong." "What would you do?" Andrew asked carefully, "if someone was threatening you, but hadn't actually done anything yet?" Master Wong studied them thoughtfully. "I would remember that anticipating violence often leads to violence. But I would also remember that preparation is not the same as aggression." He placed a hand on each of their shoulders. "Balance, always balance." The next day crawled by with excruciating slowness. In every class, the twins felt the eyes of Tyler's friends on them. By the time basketball practice arrived, their nerves were stretched to the breaking point. Practice itself was uneventful, almost suspiciously so. Tyler barely looked at them, focusing instead on impressing Coach Wilson with aggressive drives to the basket. "Maybe Kevin was wrong," Anthony whispered as they changed in the locker room after practice. But as the team filtered out, Tyler and his 5 closest friends lingered, taking their time putting away their things. The twins slung their gym bags over their shoulders and headed for the door, only to find Ryan blocking their way. "Got somewhere to be?" he asked, arms crossed. The twins turned to find Tyler and the others forming a half circle behind them. The locker room was empty now except for the 8 of them, the sound of the showers dripping in the background. "Move," Andrew said calmly, though his heart was racing. Tyler stepped forward. "You know, we've been real patient with you two, giving you time to figure out how things work around here." His voice echoed off the tiled walls. "But you just don't seem to get it." "We get it fine," Anthony replied. "You don't like us because of how we look. Original." Tyler's face flushed red. "You think you're so smart. Coming in here, showing off on the court, making everyone think you're so special." "We just play basketball," Andrew said. "Same as you." "No." Tyler stepped closer. "Not the same as me. This is my school, my team." One of Tyler's friends, a stocky boy named Zach, moved to the left, while another went right. They were being surrounded. 6 against 2, Anthony noted, his voice steady despite the situation. "Real brave." "Last chance," Andrew said, dropping his gym bag. Let us leave, and we all forget this happened." Tyler laughed, and the sound bounced harshly off the lockers. "Oh, you're not going anywhere until we're done teaching you your place." The twins exchanged a quick glance, a lifetime of training and brotherhood passing between them in that look. They had tried patience. They had tried avoidance. They had tried peace. Now it seemed they would have to try something else. Time seemed to slow down in the locker room. The dripping shower echoed like a ticking clock. Tyler took a step forward, his fists clenched. "Hold my bag," Andrew said quietly, handing his gym bag to Anthony. "What?" Anthony looked confused. "Just trust me," Andrew whispered. As Tyler moved closer, Andrew held up his hands, palms open. "Look, we don't want trouble." Tyler smirked. "Should have thought about that before you came to our school." "Last chance," Andrew said, his voice calm and measured. "Walk away now." Tyler laughed and looked back at his friends. "You hear this guy? Thinks he's in some kung fu movie." When Tyler turned back, his expression hardened. He lunged forward suddenly, aiming a punch at Andrew's face. But Andrew wasn't there anymore. With a simple sidestep, a move he practiced thousands of times, he shifted his weight and redirected Tyler's momentum. Tyler stumbled forward, caught off balance, his fist hitting nothing but air. "What the?" he sputtered, regaining his footing and spinning around. Andrew still stood with his hands up, not in fists but open-palmed. "We don't have to do this." Rage flashed in Tyler's eyes. He nodded to his friends. "Get them." Everything happened at once. Zach and Ryan rushed Anthony, while the other three boys closed in on Andrew. But the twins had trained for situations exactly like this: multiple attackers, confined space, staying defensive. Anthony dropped both gym bags and moved like water around Zach's wild punch. He caught Zach's arm and used a simple wrist lock, just enough pressure to make Zach yelp and drop to one knee. "Stay down," Anthony warned, releasing the hold gently. Ryan hesitated, seeing his friend so easily controlled, but anger pushed him forward. He charged at Anthony, who stepped to the side and used Ryan's own momentum to direct him into a row of lockers with a crash. Meanwhile, Andrew was dealing with the other three boys. He didn't throw a single punch. Instead, he blocked, deflected, and redirected. When one boy grabbed his shirt, Andrew broke the grip with a technique he'd learned in his first year of training. When another tried to tackle him, Andrew sidestepped and helped the boy to the ground with a controlled guiding motion. The twins moved with the fluid precision that came from years of practice. They weren't fighting so much as dancing around the attacks, always defensive, never aggressive. It was exactly as Master Wang had taught them: use only the force necessary to protect yourself, nothing more. Tyler stood back for a moment, shock written across his face as he watched his friends flailing uselessly against the twins' defensive moves. Then rage took over. He grabbed a metal water bottle from a bench and charged at Andrew from behind. "Andrew, watch out," Anthony called. Andrew turned just in time to see Tyler swinging the bottle at his head. Instinctively, he raised his arm in a blocking position, deflecting the blow. The water bottle clattered to the floor. In one smooth motion, Andrew swept Tyler's legs out from under him. Tyler hit the floor hard, the wind knocked out of him. Andrew immediately stepped back, making no move to follow up or hurt Tyler further. The locker room fell silent except for heavy breathing and the constant drip of the shower. 5 of Tyler's friends were scattered around, some sitting on the floor, some leaning against lockers, all looking stunned. None of them was seriously hurt, just confused and winded. What was that?" one of them finally asked. "Taekwondo," Andrew said simply, "and some jujitsu." "You're martial artists?" Another boy stared, wide-eyed. Anthony nodded. "Black belts. For almost 2 years now." Tyler pulled himself to his feet, his face a mixture of pain, embarrassment, and lingering anger. "You could have said something." "Would it have mattered?" Andrew asked. "You never wanted to know anything about us." The locker room door suddenly swung open. Coach Wilson stood there, his eyes widening as he took in the scene, the twins standing calmly while Tyler and his friends were scattered across the floor. "What the hell is going on in here?" he demanded. For a moment, no one spoke. The twins braced themselves for Tyler's version of events, how they had attacked first, how it was all their fault. But to their surprise, it was Zach who spoke first. Nothing, Coach, he said, getting to his feet. Just messing around. Coach Wilson clearly didn't believe it. Messing around. Looks more like fighting to me. No, sir, Ryan added, straightening his shirt. Just showing each other some moves. Tyler looked at his friends in disbelief, then at the twins. Something passed between them, not friendship, not yet understanding, but perhaps the beginning of respect. Yeah, Tyler finally said, rubbing his shoulder. They were showing us some martial arts stuff. Got a little carried away. Coach Wilson looked skeptical but seemed willing to let it go. Well, clear out. Janitor needs to clean up. He held the door open, clearly expecting them all to leave immediately. As they filed out, Tyler fell into step beside the twins. His voice was low, meant only for them. This isn't over. But something had changed. The threat sounded hollow, even to Tyler himself. It can be, Anthony replied. It's your call. The twins walked out into the afternoon sun, their gin bags slung over their shoulders. For the first time in weeks, they walked tall, no longer looking over their shoulders. Whatever happened next, they had faced their fear and remained true to their training, using their skills not to hurt, but to protect. And somehow, that felt like victory enough. Word spread through Lakeside High like wildfire. By next morning, everyone had heard some version of what happened in the locker room. Stories grew with each telling, from the twins fighting off 20 attackers to them doing flying kicks and breaking boards with their heads. The truth was less dramatic but no less impressive to their classmates. Andrew and Anthony walked into school that morning prepared for trouble. Instead, they found something unexpected: respect. Students who had never spoken to them before nodded as they passed. Some even smiled. Did you really flip Tyler over your shoulder? A freshman boy asked Anthony at his locker. No, Anthony said, surprised by the attention. We just defended ourselves, that's all. At lunch, the cafeteria buzzed with whispered conversations that stopped when the twins entered. Kevin waved them over to his table. Men, you guys are famous now, he said as they sat down. Why didn't you tell anyone you were black belts? Andrew shrugged. Didn't seem important. Not important. Lily joined them, sliding her tray onto the table. Everyone's talking about how you took down Tyler and his whole crew without even throwing a punch. That's like superhero stuff. It wasn't like that, Anthony insisted. We just used what we've been taught. Anyone can learn it. Could you teach me some moves? David asked eagerly. My little brother keeps putting me in headlocks. Before the twins could answer, a hush fell over their section of the cafeteria. Tyler had entered with his friends. The group looked subdued, none of their usual swagger evident as they made their way to their regular table. Tyler noticed the twins and paused. For a moment, tension crackled in the air. Then, to everyone's surprise, he gave a small nod before continuing on his way. Did that just happen? Lily whispered. Did Tyler Green actually acknowledge your existence without being a jerk? After school, the twins were approached by Ms. Patterson, the PE teacher. Can I speak with you boys for a minute? They followed her to her office, exchanging nervous glances. Had Tyler or his friends reported them after all? I heard about what happened yesterday, she said, closing the door. Coach Wilson told me his suspicions, even if the boys involved aren't talking. The twins waited silently, unsure what was coming. How long have you been training in martial arts? She asked. Since we were 6, Andrew answered cautiously. Ms. Patterson nodded thoughtfully. I used to compete in judo myself, back in college. She studied them for a moment. I've been trying to start a self-defense club here for years, but never had anyone qualified to help lead it. The twins looked at each other, surprised by the conversation's direction. Would you be interested in helping me get it off the ground? Teaching basic techniques to other students? With proper supervision, of course. Us? Teach? Anthony seemed stunned by the idea. Why not? You clearly know what you're doing, and after yesterday, I bet half the school would sign up. She smiled. Think about it. It could be good for everyone. That evening at dinner, the twins told their parents everything, the weeks of bullying, the confrontation, and now Ms. Patterson's offer. Their mom put down her fork, her expression shifting from concern to relief. Why didn't you tell us how bad it was getting? We thought we could handle it, Andrew said. And you did, their dad replied, his voice a mixture of pride and worry. But you shouldn't have had to face that alone. We weren't alone, Anthony said. We had each other. Their dad nodded slowly. What about this club idea? How do you feel about teaching? Andrew considered the question. Master Chen always said the best way to truly understand something is to teach it to others. And it would be cool to show people that martial arts isn't about fighting, Anthony added. It's about discipline and respect. And self-control, their mom pointed out, which you both showed. The next day, the twins met with Ms. Patterson to accept her offer. By the end of the week, flyers for the new self-defense club were posted throughout the school. To their surprise, 20 students showed up for the first meeting, including Ryan and Zach from Tyler's group. We want to learn what you did to us, Ryan explained awkwardly. That was pretty impressive. The twins set up the gym mats, feeling strange to be on the teaching side for once. As they demonstrated basic stances and simple defensive moves, they noticed Tyler watching from the gym doorway. He didn't come in, didn't sign up, but he watched. After the session, Ms. Patterson congratulated them. You're natural teachers. The students really responded to you. Walking home that afternoon, Anthony nudged his brother. Did you ever think we'd end up teaching the guys who were bullying us? Andrew shook his head. Life's weird sometimes. Think Tyler will ever join? Maybe, Andrew said. People can surprise you. As if summoned by his name, they spotted Tyler sitting alone on a bench in the park they crossed through. He looked up as they approached, his face unreadable. The twins slowed, unsure whether to stop or keep walking. After a moment's hesitation, they stopped. An uncomfortable silence stretched between them until Tyler finally spoke. My dad says I should apologize. He stared at the ground as he spoke. For what happened? What almost happened? The twins waited, saying nothing. He's right, Tyler continued. What I did wasn't cool. It wasn't exactly an apology, but it was something, a beginning. Everyone makes mistakes, Andrew said finally. Some bigger than others, Anthony added. Tyler looked up, meeting their eyes for the first time. Your club thing, is it any good? It's not our club, Andrew clarified. It's for everyone. Tyler nodded slowly. Maybe I'll check it out sometime. As they walked away, leaving Tyler on the bench, Anthony whispered, You think he means it? Andrew shrugged. Don't know. But everyone deserves a second chance, right? For the first time in weeks, they walked home without looking over their shoulders, feeling like maybe, just maybe, they had found their place after all. 3 months passed, and winter gave way to spring. The self-defense club had grown from 20 students to nearly 50, meeting twice a week in the gym after school. What had started as basic lessons in defensive moves had evolved into something bigger, a place where students from different groups and backgrounds came together, learning not just how to protect themselves, but how to respect each other. Remember, control your breathing, Andrew instructed as he walked between pairs of students practicing basic blocks. Your breath controls your focus. Across the gym, Anthony was showing a group of freshmen how to break a simple wrist grab. It's not about strength, he explained, demonstrating with a small girl named Jenny. It's about leverage and technique. Ms. Patterson watched from the side, smiling at how naturally the twins had taken to teaching. When they'd first arrived at Lakeside, she'd seen 2 quiet, reserved boys who kept to themselves. Now they stood tall, confident leaders who had earned the respect of their peers. The gym door opened and Tyler walked in. This had become a regular occurrence over the past few weeks, him showing up, watching for a while, then leaving without a word. Today was different, though. He wore sweatpants and a t-shirt instead of his usual jeans. Is it too late to join? He asked Ms. Patterson. She glanced at the twins, raising an eyebrow in silent question. Andrew nodded slightly. We're just working on basic blocks, he called over. You can pair up with David. The group paused briefly as Tyler joined them, but then continued with their practice. If anyone found it strange that the former bully was now learning from the boys he had once targeted, they didn't show it. After class, as students were rolling up the mats, Principal Davis entered the gym. He watched the activity with interest before approaching the twins. I've been hearing good things about this club, he said. Very good things. The twins exchanged a glance, unsure how to respond. In fact, the principal continued, I've had 3 other schools contact me about starting something similar. They're wondering if you two might be willing to help train some of their students to lead clubs of their own. Us? Anthony asked, surprised. Why not? Principal Davis smiled. What you've built here is impressive, not just the self-defense skills, but the community. Haven't had a single bullying incident reported in over a month. Later that evening, the twins told their parents about Principal Davis's request over dinner. That's quite an opportunity, their dad said, pride evident in his voice. Do you think we should do it? Andrew asked. Their mom reached across the table and squeezed his hand. When we moved here, I was so worried about you boys. New school, new town where we were, different. She looked at her sons with shining eyes. I never imagined you'd end up making such a difference. That weekend, they discussed the idea with Master Wong after class at the dojo. The true purpose of martial arts has never been to defeat others, he told them as they sat cross-legged on the mat. It has always been to build peace. First within yourself, then around you. He studied them thoughtfully. You have done this at your school. Why not help others do the same? The following Monday, the twins agreed to Principal Davis's proposal. Within weeks, they were visiting other schools on weekends, helping students from different backgrounds learn the basics of what they were now calling respect training. A mix of self-defense, conflict resolution, and community building. At the Spring Sports Awards ceremony, something unexpected happened. Coach Wilson called both twins to the stage when announcing the basketball team awards. Most improved player usually goes to just one person, he said, but this year it's about more than basketball. He looked at the twins. These two not only improved their game, but they improved our whole school. They taught us that true strength isn't about dominating others, it's about lifting everyone up. The applause was thunderous. Even Tyler joined in, standing with the rest of the team. After the ceremony, Lily caught up with them in the hallway. Had you guys seen this? She held up her phone, showing them a local news website. There was a photo of their self-defense club with a headline reading, "Local Teens Fight Bullying with Martial Arts Program." They want to interview you, she said excitedly. You're going to be famous. The twins looked at each other and laughed. We never wanted to be famous, Anthony said. We just wanted to fit in. Well, you did more than fit in, Kevin added, joining them. You changed things. As they headed out to the parking lot, they found Tyler waiting by their dad's car. My cousin's starting at Riverside High next fall, he said, shuffling his feet slightly. He's worried about fitting in, being picked on. I told him about your program. He looked up at them. I was thinking maybe I could help out, you know? Be one of those student trainers you're setting up. The twins were silent for a moment, taking in how much had changed since that first day on the bus. We can always use more help, Andrew said finally, extending his hand. Tyler shook it, a small smile on his face. Thanks. For everything, I guess. As they drove home with their parents, watching the familiar streets of what had once been a strange and hostile place, Anthony turned to his brother. Remember when we were afraid to tell anyone we knew martial arts? Thought it might make us stand out more. Andrew nodded, looking out at the town that now felt like home. Turns out, sometimes the thing that makes you different is exactly what helps you belong. Their dad caught their eyes in the rearview mirror. Proud of you boys, he said simply. The twins smiled. They had come to this town feeling like outsiders, faced hatred and prejudice, and transformed it through patience, discipline, and courage. They hadn't used their skills to hurt those who threatened them, but to build something better for themselves and everyone around them. And that, they both knew, was the true victory.